Bills Planning and Zoning Board for August 17th, 2026. Welcome to all of our board members, those we have not seen in a while. We're thankful that we're not being brought here when we don't have agenda items, so thank you, staff, for those wonderful breaks. You have before you, or have been shared with you, the agenda. We entertain a motion, having considered the agenda for tonight's meeting. What is the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion the agenda be accepted as.
They moved and properly second. All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We didn't have any excused absences, so at this time, we will now look at the approval of the minutes for the April 20th and May 18th meeting. These were shared with you in the email from staff. And we'll entertain a motion for the pleasure of the board.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes for April 20th, 26th, and May 18th of 2026 as written.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, been moved and properly second. All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. This time we'll turn it over to staff for election of officers.
Good evening, board. So once a year after the mid-year kind of tally up to ensure that people want to continue to serve on the board, or we add or remove anybody, we go back to the election of the officers. So it'll be the pleasure of the board themselves to nominate or elect a chairperson and a vice chairperson. And I apologize for the misspelled chairperson on the vice chairperson too. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I nominate Greg Monroe for chairman.
Second.
Are there any other nominations for chairperson? There being none, the nomination is closed. We have the election of the recommendation of Gregory Monroe for chairperson. All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for your vote of confidence. Now we'll have entertain nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Vice Chair Killian.
Any other nominations? There being no other nominations, the nominations are closed. We have a nomination of Killian as vice chair. All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Darlene.
All right, thank you, vice chair. Any comments to the board?
Thank you for faith in my purpose.
All right, staff, new business, Blackstone's Section 3 final plat.
Good evening, board, and thank you for coming to the August 17th Planning and Zoning Board meeting. We do have a few things on the agenda today. The first one is the Blackstone Section 3 final plat. Blackstone is located just south of, this is Vernon White Road going east to west here. North to south here is Old Tar Road. This is just south of Vernon White in the existing Blackstone subdivision. This is the Jehovah's Witnesses Church right here, just to give you reference. This is the approved preliminary plat for Blackstone. Again, this is the existing Blackstone subdivision, so it feeds right into this phase 3 with a cul-de-sac. There is a stormwater pond up here. All of these are lots, and if you look right here through the Jehovah's Witnesses Church, this is a fire access lane. Should Blackstone Drive ever be blocked for anything, we still have emergency access into the subdivision. This subdivision, this fire access lane will have a gate, so it's not going to be for regular traffic. The applicant for this subdivision is Art Consulting Group with us today if you do have any questions. This is off of Vernon White Road near the Old Tar Road intersection within the existing Blackstone subdivision. This will feature 12 lots on 4.83 acres. It's an R12.5 zone district. Again, as we pointed out, there is an emergency access lane provided, providing a second form of ingress and egress for emergency vehicles for the subdivision as well. Staff does recommend approval of this final plat as it matches the approved preliminary plat and has received TRC approval. Of course, the site itself is not finished and all final elements of the site must be completed and approved prior to this final plat's placement onto town council. This is the final plat itself. Again, looking at, this is the first phase of Blackstone, and then it comes into phase 3. Phase 2 was the church. At one point, phase 2 was actually going to be a portion of this subdivision, but it was sold and built as the church. So this is the last bit of the Blackstone subdivision, and again, it calls out in reference to that emergency fire access lane right there as well. Are there any questions for the Blackstone Section 3 final plat? Again, the site itself is not completely finalized, but it'll have to be finalized and completely staff approved prior to this final plat going before town council. So the land itself has not completed all of its inspections for like sewer and stuff like that. So prior to this map itself being able to go in front of town council, everything will have to be inspected and approved and finalized.
But isn't that typical done for
No, the way we have done this is it can go before planning and zoning as they're working on it, and then it sits there before it can go to town council. So nothing can go before town council unless it's completely approved. But at this point, they typically are still working on the subdivision.
So for clarification, the plat is the designer saying that these are going to be the lot sizes and access and all that.
That's correct. We're reviewing essentially the plat today, whereas before it can go before town council, it'll have to be the plat and the land essentially, if that makes sense.
Are there any other questions for staff from the board? Questions for the developer? Concerning the final plat for Blackstone Section 3, what is the pleasure of the board?
Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the final plat for Blackstone Section 3.
Second. We have a motion to accept the final plat, to approve the final plat, and properly second. Any questions? Okay, no discussions. What is it? All those in favor of approving Blackstone Section 3 final plat, use the vote sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. None opposed. Item 2, Southbrook Phase 1 Track A final plat.
All right, next we're going to go to the Southbrook Phase 1 Tract A final plat. As discussed, and you guys are well aware of the location, but Southbrook is located off of Lori Ellis Road going east to west here. North to south here we have Church Street Extension. Phase 1 Tract A is located all on the Church Street Extension side, as we'll see. So right here, this is the approved preliminary plat of Phase 1. Phase 1 consisted of Tract A, which is over here on the Church Street side, and Tract B, which is over here on the Lori Ellis side. The second and third phase of the preliminary plat fill in the interior aspect of the site. Diving a little bit closer into the Tract A side, as you can see right here, this is Church Street Extension. The subdivision comes in right here off of Church Street Extension. If you continue north, all of these are single-family detached or traditional homes. If you take this first right, all of these are single-family attached, or what we more commonly call townhomes. You also see a overflow guest parking, mail kiosks right here. And we're gonna look, but you're gonna see a pocket park right here and then future stubs for future growth in the subdivision as well. Of course, this is just the first phase of many. The applicant on this is Southbrook NC LLC, who are the owners. Southbrook is located on Church Street Extension and Laurie Ellis Road. So phase 1, tract A, is located on Church Street Extension side, just south of the Holly Grove subdivision. So this will feature 57 single-family detached lots or traditional homes, and 56 single-family attached lots, or more commonly known as townhomes. This will be on 23.69 acres of the entire 245-acre site. It's a planned unit development zone district, so Southbrook has a special PUD zoning district that is R6 and multifamily residential conditional districts. Ingress and egress on this site will be available through Church Street Extension and through Casino Way, which is existing already in the Holly Grove subdivision. As stated, it also includes a 15,409 square foot pocket park, as shown on page 4 of your handout as well for the final plat. Similar to Blackstone, staff recommends approval of the final plat as it does match the preliminary plat and has received TRC approval. Now, final elements of the site will have to be finalized and approved by staff prior to this final plat going to council, but the final plat itself has been approved. This right here is just to show you again where phase 1 is. So if you're coming off of Church Street Extension, as you see, you're coming in through here and you'll meet the stub to Holly Grove to the north here, and then it splits from single family detached up to the top to single family attached to the bottom. We're going to flip through the final plat itself, and I do have a printout in front of you as well. So the first page is mostly signatures and certificates and site information. The second page, as you're coming off of Church Street, you are now on Sky Park Drive coming into the subdivision. Again, if you take this right onto Sunset Walk Road, all of this is the townhome single family attached. As you continue straight, all of this is the single family detached. Continuing down the street on Sky Park Drive, you'll run into the stub with Holly Grove Drive, Casino Drive right here. So this will give interconnectivity with Holly Grove as the single family detached move down. On the opposite side where the single family attached are located, you also see a overflow parking space right here, or parking spaces. There's 22 guest or overflow parking spaces, and the mail kiosk located at this area. Continuing down Sky Park Drive, as you see, these are all single family detached homes. Then when you meet where the single family attached and single family detached come together, there will be a pocket park right here to kind of bring both of those products together. You also run into the end of the subdivision as it currently is, and these are going to be stubs that'll be built for future development. All of this is just curvature data for the road, so it's just showing you the dimensions of the curves in the final plat. The very last page is kind of a reference page, so it just shows you the outline of Southbrook in total and phase 1 tract A in relation to that outline. It just gives a good overview of what is being constructed for this area. With that, again, staff does recommend approval to town council. All final site work will have to be completely finalized and approved by town staff prior to this final plat being acceptable to go to town council. Are there any questions for Southbrook Phase 1 Tract A? We also have the developer here if you do have any questions for them.
Can you define for us a pocket park?
Yeah, a pocket park is generally just a small park. That's kind of the planning term that we'll use just for a small park.
playground equipment or?
Do you? Playfield with benches, with some open space for the kids to play. What the developer mentioned.
What is the size of the park?
15,409 square foot.
Stephen, does that meet the obligation of the developer for recreation or supplemental?
Yes, sir. That would be that would meet a portion of their recreation requirement. Yes, sir.
Hey, Stephen, I have a question, and
Yes, sir.
it may concern that, but with the state of development, is there a plan for another fire department?
I know there are plans and that the fire department is doing for future fire department growth, but as far as if they are actually planning on one right this second, I'm not sure. I'd have to put you in contact with our fire department or bring them for that. I know that they have done numerous fire department plans. In fact, they're actually updating one right now. So they are considering a second or future fire locations, but I don't know for a fact if they've selected one.
Yeah, I was just curious with the amount of growth that they're. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they are studying it, absolutely.
All right, so are there questions for staff? Questions for the developer? There being none, what is the pleasure of the board concerning Southbrook Phase 1, Track A, final plat? Okay, we have a motion to approve and properly second. Any questions? Any discussion? All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Opposed. Item 3, zoning and subdivision ordinance amendments.
All right. The very last two things we have on the agenda tonight are subdivision and zoning ordinance amendments. We're proposing a couple of amendments for consideration for this board. The first one is stationary sanitary containers. So town staff has determined that rollout cart service for single-family attached or townhomes has become extremely problematic, especially when you look at this type of layout. The homeowners didn't really know where to keep their carts. A lot of them were keeping it in front of this window. A lot of them were kind of keeping it in their yard, especially if you have a middle unit. Expecting them to pull it all the way around to the side or the back, it was becoming extremely problematic. So this is 11 at Main. So the developer themselves actually got rid of rollout service. Even where there were driveways, they were having a lot of issues because the front of it wasn't wide enough to not put it either in front of the garage or the door. It was just looking bad, and it was really problematic. So for just to make sure that future developers don't run into this, and of course we're fairly newer in the single family attached realm, so we're trying to make sure that future single family attached goes a little bit more smoothly. So we're asking town council to require single family attached of more than 2 units, so duplexes could still have rollout service, but any townhomes or any other single family attached to have stationary dumpster service. It's already required in multifamily, but this would essentially be adding it to the townhomes. Are there any questions for that before we move on to the next?
Would that be relevant for the final plats that we just recommended for approval?
We'll request them to do it. Depending on when all this is approved, we'll have to see the legalities of them requiring them to do it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If this was passed in this for Southbrook, the town would be responsible for doing a detached family, and the homeowner, the association would be responsible for the detached?
I believe that's correct, yes, sir. For the dumpsters, themselves,
dumpsters.
yes, sir.
But the town does the singles.
That's correct, yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
For like living on Main, there's a multitude of buildings. How many would be required per?
That's something that I think is gonna get thrown into the, Public Works design guidelines to have a standard per number of units. There's actually already a standard per, and I don't wanna misspeak, but my understanding is I believe there's already a standard per waste management that when they have a certain number of units, they require a certain number and size of cans already. So I think there's already a standard out there, but I believe it's something that's going to be added to some of our design.
I would think with some, a site that large, you'd have at least probably 4 or 5 or more.
Right. There is kind of some standard language out there that addresses distance and number of units and stuff like that per dumpster. Yes, sir.
So for clarity in what you're asking us to recommend to town council is that this amendment would go into effect moving forward, or would it be retro to like 11 Main?
No, it would be moving forward. Yes, sir.
And that would be the requirement of units such as this with more than 2, that there is a container.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Stationary container. Okay.
Whereas, single family detached, they have places to, even on the side, and even duplexes, they could put it on the sides as well, where once you have that many units, it gets a lot more tricky. Yes, ma'am. Yes, and we did look at that too. Yes, ma'am. This is what we came forward with as suggestions. Yes, ma'am. But we do always look at the ordinances to see what is problematic to change along the way. Yes, ma'am. We're always doing that. This is what was problematic. Yes, ma'am. And this, yes, ma'am. No, but we could. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am. But no, we have not identified right now anything else that other than what my next, I've got some more, but just for, so next I'll have sidewalk requirements, and that'll be a component of it as well. But this is, as far as dumpsters go, this is the recommendation for that. Yes, ma'am.
So is there inclusion, since we also do recycling for town of Winterville, would that be inclusive, that we also need to include not only stationary dumpsters, but how would recycling play into that?
That'd be more on the public works side. So here we're just saying that you can't have rollout service on the planning side. So then they would, with public works, determine how many dumpsters they need and where and things like that.
Recycling and, okay.
Right.
So this is a catch-all. We don't want to get too.
Right. This is just the planning department saying, hey, when y'all are building this, you just need to make sure that you throw in dumpsters for that, and then Public Works will review the dumpster aspect of it once the construction drawings come through.
Or that Greg does, Public Works.
I'll let them know. Yes, sir.
sidewalks.
All right. Next, we are looking at sidewalks requirements and proposing them to be added to the zoning ordinance. So right now, most sidewalk regulation is found in the subdivision ordinance. Well, there are some extremely rare occasions where a development doesn't go through the subdivision ordinance at all. And in these occasions, we're missing out on some sidewalks, sometimes in some very important locations.
Beacon
So-
Drive,
What's that?
Beacon Drive.
Beacon Drive. So for this proposal, we are asking to include it in the zoning ordinance so that sidewalks are going to be required in appropriate locations regardless if a subdivision occurs or not. So overall, we're ensuring that sidewalk development is considered for all non-residential, all attached residential, and for future expansions and redevelopments of some sites of more than 60% so that we can retrofit some sidewalks as well. And just to kind of give you an example of two great examples, is Aces for Autism and Christ Covenant. So these are two schools that purchased lots that were subdivided a long time ago. So they never went through the current subdivision ordinance, which makes the requirement for the sidewalks. Now, what we're asking is to include the sidewalks not only in the subdivision ordinance, but in the zoning ordinance, so that when sites like this are reviewed, then they would add a sidewalk not only adjacent to the street right here, but also considering how to get people from the streets into the site and around the site as well. So that's the main aspect of this proposal. In addition, as stated, in addition to the sidewalks across the streets, we do want an ADA accessible path that shall be provided from the street sidewalk to the entrance of the buildings or other public uses on the site. So this is to carefully tie in sidewalk networks on the street and internal to the site to ensure that pedestrian design is thoughtfully considered for each site. So this will help ensure higher quality and a higher emphasis on sidewalk design and multimodal transportation. It will, going back to yours, it would require much more sidewalks on Beacon. For instance, if this were established when Beacon was constructed, then it would require sidewalks on both sides of the street for non-residential or attached residential. So not on both sides of the street for single-family detached, not a traditional neighborhood, but pretty much everything else will have to be on both sides of the street, which is a big change from the previous requirements in the subdivision ordinance. It will also update the sidewalk requirements for cul-de-sacs to continue around the full diameter of the cul-de-sac. So one thing that we have right now, so our current design for cul-de-sacs ends at the bulb. So it misses these streets. I guess the whole idea is as long as you have ADA accessible ramp right here, they can just, go directly here. Well, that's not the best design moving forward. So we're going to ask that we go ahead and just loop the sidewalk all the way around so that everybody would have an access to.
Take it back on.
No, it would just have to go around the cul-de-sac itself. So again, it's still on one side of the street, but at least at cul-de-sacs, it would have to be the full perimeter so that it would take into account all the cul-de-sac houses as well. So staff is requesting planning and zoning's vote of support for the proposed sidewalk and dumpster ordinance changes. Are there any questions from planning and zoning regarding those two proposals?
How would that affect the cul-de-sac that is on the opposite side? If you're looping around one cul-de-sac and the sidewalk doesn't exist on the opposite side of the street, is one cul-de-sac gonna have sidewalks while the other one doesn't?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So if you've got a street that has sidewalk on the south side,
Mhm.
and you've got a cul-de-sac that comes off of that south side. On the north side of the street, there's no sidewalk, and they don't do. Will they have to put sidewalks on both sides of that main feeder street?
So residential, single-family detached only will require sidewalks on one side of the street. The only thing we're changing is that at a cul-de-sac right here, then it'll just come all the way around. So no, it will not now require on both sides of the
So
street.
let's say there was a cul-de-sac on the opposite end, like a cross intersection. That other cul-de-sac would not have the sidewalk running through that location.
They would have to. They'd have to design to ensure that that's met. So in that case, if their design comes out that way, then they may have to do it on both sides just to meet the requirements. But
My next question, for the commercial sites where you've got your sidewalks are gonna be in the right of way, is there any requirement for them to tie into internal, site circulation?
yes, so we're gonna add, an ADA accessible path shall be provided from the subject sidewalk into the site, to the entrance and other publicly accessible aspects of the site.
Will that be required at only the driveway entrances or mid-block? Let's say, can they cross the sidewalk? I'm thinking some sites in Greenville, like at some of the fast food restaurants, the entrance to the site is not only at the intersections, but mid-block, you've got like another cut through.
They will just have to make sure they meet the design for their site. So if at mid-block, that's a better design, then yes, sir. But they'll just have to make sure that there's an ADA accessible route through their site. But it's going to be different per each site too. Depending on the type of site and entrances, things like that, it'll look different per site. Yes, sir.
Stephen, just so I'm thick sometimes, so help me.
No, it's fine.
I'm on section 154, number 4A. And I want to break it down. It's only one sidewalk where it's unattached and everything else is two sidewalks? Is that basically what you're saying, isn't it? I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
154, 4A. It's in yellow.
So this is saying we are adding what is in yellow to the subdivision ordinance. So previously, that yellow A didn't exist. And so all local streets only had it on one side. Now, as long as it's non-residential, multifamily, two-family, any of that, then it'll be on both sides. So essentially what it's leaving out is single-family detached.
Okay, so it's single family gets a single sidewalk, everything else is two sidewalks.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Thank you, hallelujah.
Any other questions, discussions for staff regarding the recommendations to support the amendment of ordinances presented by staff? Any discussion, further discussion? So what is the pleasure of the board regarding the amendments presented by staff?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we strongly support both of these amendments.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any other discussions? None. All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay. Staff report.
Thank you all for being here today. As you noticed, I had a couple of separate versions of this. I want to thank Mr. Killian for pointing out the election of officers, and then The removal of the overflow parking requirement, there's been some state statute last month signed into place that may change significantly how we require off-street parking. And we're going to have to do a little bit more kind of diving into that law to see exactly in all the ways how it's going to affect the town. And we may bring back this parking proposal at a future date. With that, I will say that the town is staying very busy right now. I think the whole market right now is just booming like crazy. We're actually getting really low on residential lots again, so we really need some more residential lots. Luckily, again, we've got Copper Creek still building some houses. Villa Grande, 11 at Main has some building along the way. Eli's Ridge and Cornerstone are the last two that have some homes. Brookfield, I think, has one more left in their subdivision. Then we've got some projects on the way too. As you saw, Southbrook Phase 1 is coming along really quickly. Quail Trace off of Reedy Branch Road is coming along really well as well. And then Brookstone too. If you go by Carroll Crossing, you'll see Section 4 is just starting to take off too on the Church Street Extension area. Luckily, we have a fair amount of residential projects under TRC review as well. Farmstead, the rest of Southbrook, and Rucker Farms subdivision. So we've got a lot of residential. Commercially, we have what we call Ainge Plaza, or the Beacon Drive area, is seeing a ton of interest right now. As you can see, the Freddy's is opening a burger place. There's Beacon Dental that's opening a new office over there. We've got a new developer coming in for one of the sites that we just received, our technical review committee just received. It's a little over 52,000 square foot office flex space product, which is something that we're seeing a little bit more of lately, and it's a really unique design. So essentially, it's a large building, and each of the units has very small office spaces, extremely small spaces. The rest of it is just open storage. So these are good for HVAC, flooring, companies that don't have a lot of people sitting in the office but have a lot of bulky equipment or storage needs. So that's going to be a really good addition to the Ainge Plaza. With that, we've got a lot of commercial interest right now. A lot of people calling, asking questions. I really think our market is just really hot right now. With that said, if there are any questions the board, anybody ever has anything they have any questions of, just give me a call. Happy to assist. Are there any questions for tonight, though? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you just give us an update? What's happening on Church Street? Parking space.
Oh, I haven't really been involved with that project. Tristan's going to look it up, but Tristan's got some details about it. But essentially, they are adding some parking, and they're reworking the drive-through window as well.
While she's looking at that, any other comments from board members?
Sort of an announcement along that line. There are going to be some of the streets down here that are closed off in this week. So be wary of those. There's an announcement out on the website that explains which ones and on which day.
I think that'll be
Tristan said, if she remembers correctly, the addition will be in the high 30s parking spaces added.
Is Mr. Weldon okay? He's been absent several meetings.
Yes, sir. He was at work Friday.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So I'll have to ask him tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next question is, are any of the board members
Any of ours? Not this year. They will be next year, yes, sir. $37 parking spaces.
Any other comments, questions? All right, if there be none, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moving properly second. All those in favor, use your voting sign aye. Meeting stands adjourned. All right. All right. Yeah.
Right. Nah, I'm gonna go with Pixie.
Oh, okay.
Sports medicine. Okay.